If you're having an experience right now, you are not mortal. This body will come and go, but you are not
Yo,
mortal.
bro.
Yeah, I agree
Just
fucked
completely
me
with
up.
that, dude. Like that's, dude. Like this is what we've been talking about for so long, dude. The recognition that we are literal, individualized expressions of God, dude, and that godness is undieable, dude. It's infinite, and we are that
Oh.
infinitude.
Have you
Oh,
ever
fuck.
had an out of body experience?
Yes.
Oh, plenty.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
If you have, then why are you still identifying with this body
Can I tell
and
you
saying
Because
why?
things
So
like,
convincing,
"I'm
dude.
mortal. We are mortal"?
choose to.
No, we're not mortal.
I choose
Use
to.
this body as you will. I
No. I came
don't need
here
my body
to
to even have the same memory complex. Right?
stop pulling my spirit out of my body. Okay, I came here to experience this reality as a mortal. I have come here to forget that I am an immortal being, and I am completely satisfied with the idea that I might end for all of eternity. Because that is what I've come here to do. I've come here to feel that again, to forget that I am immortal, to forget that I am this constantly flowing cosmic energy. I've come to experience what it is like to.
Lightning, now that, Candace kind of threw, that all that out there for you guys to see what was going on in my mind throughout all of that and get a perspective.
We would love
On
that,
how-
actually, dude.
Yeah.
So, on that note, can you maybe give groundwork for the people listening so that they know what you're talking about?
Okay, so are you talking about the all the travel that we did last year?
I mean,
Absolutely.
you can definitely go into the travel, but I think
Okay.
maybe the relationship is also something just to give people an understanding as to what it is we're talking about. You're breaking up a little bit, Teddy.
Oh dear.
Oh, sorry.
Not at all.
I'm using my
That's
wife's
That's
phone.
fine.
Yeah, you don't need to be
Yeah.
sorry about having internet troubles. That's not really under your
Yeah.
control.
If anybody knows internet's troubles, it's us and SA.
Yo.
So anyways, 10 years ago, me and my wife met at a factory, and yeah, so whenever I was, before I had met her, I wasn't really looking for a partner. I was more or less looking for just a solution to my carnal needs, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
And yeah, just one thing led to another, and here we are. She, I knew what I wanted eventually, which was a family, and I had kind of, I was just in a mode to where I was like, all right, give me that family. And rather than trying to make it happen, I was just like, all right, it'll happen, And then one day she started talking to me. We went camping, and and then I found out that she was in a tight spot, and so I kind of went out of my way to help her, and then one thing led to another, and we became dependent upon each other. And well, that's the way it happens, right? I mean, you can't.
It's an
You
organic
can't have-
unfolding almost.
Yeah, and it's okay to be dependent.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're dependent on the world for so much of your sustenance. Why not be dependent on another individual?
Yeah, but I think it's a really beautiful thing when you actually do become codependent because it shows that you have absolute trust in one another.
It's really crazy that you say that as well, dude, because like literally I came to today's stream with the intention of talking about loneliness. So that you're mentioning this, that there is like we're already, dependent, if you will, on this world. And in that way, we're not lonely in it. We can like kind of extend that not loneliness, to another person as well and utilize that sharing of energy, if you will.
I think codependence is a fine balance. There can be incredibly unhealthy codependence, which is to say that you are actually fully capable of being on your own, but you've become so emotionally reliant on this other person in your life that you're leaning on them as a crutch. It's no longer about livelihood, it's more about like your mental stability almost. Which is in many ways, which can be unhealthy. So it becomes a very fine balance. And there's almost a sort of beauty on the counter side to that argument where you are dependent on one another, but it is completely out of love, out of beautiful need, So it highly depends on the scenario.
And
Oh, you're breaking up a lot, Teddy. I'm so sorry, man. Like we can't hear what you're saying right now.
Okay, let me go and sit up on the roof.
Now it sounds that's good. Sounds good again. Like as soon as we mentioned that the audio isn't working, it sounds perfect.
I really like that reaction.
Okay, so
though. It's like, okay, hold up, let me just go sit on the roof.
Just go all the way up.
So, can you still hear me?
Now you sound perfect.
I hear you now.
Okay, fantastic. So I was going to say, if you want a family, a nuclear family anyways, then codependence is kind of one of those things that is a must. If you want a family that isn't nuclear, then go for it, right? But if you want a family that is nuclear, if the idea of mom and dad hanging around children is appealing to you, then you got to figure out how that's going to work. And the most peaceful way that it does work is the same way that the moon and the sun work. They both have their roles around the earth, and they don't interfere with those roles. And the moon shines only as bright as the sun allows it. Sometimes that's very bright, and sometimes it's not at all.
And then there's the eclipse that can, completely block out the light of the sun as well in its own way.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm actually curious. I would like to ask as well.
Shut up.
I want to ask what exactly he means by nuclear family.
Mom and dad with kids.
Your superpower family, your top of the line ideal vision of a family. And that's sort of what I wanted to talk about before Estian so rudely interrupted me as usual.
Wow.
You fuck
But anyway, it's funny you should mention that, that how it is actually a sort of key ingredient to that vision of a family. It's sometimes such a vital thing for it to become a reality. And I find it that more and more often now, as we progress further and further into the future, the dependence thing is no longer important. It's not. People are capable of looking after themselves. In fact, they're almost capable of having a family on their own if need be. And the magic of the codependence, back when people were fucking struggling for food to bloody have enough money to just feed themselves, forget like doing it together, just like on your own to feed yourself. And now you add kids to the picture, it's almost impossible to do it on your own. You need someone there to do it with you. I mean, as much as we bash on the boomers, I mean, those people are fucking busy. They were busy. They were constantly busy with their jobs, making plans, making highly risky decisions all the
I think
time.
almost being blinded, dude, by that necessity.
Exactly. And now, as much as us millennials, we're like the generation that we're super fucking, you know, we're the treasure children. We're the ones that are supposed to bring the change and supposed to bring the new age, the new idea of what being human is like, and we are fucking lazy. Like, no jokes. Oh my
Dude,
word,
it's
we love
bad.
complaining.
Ooh, yeah.
We
Why
love
is that,
complaining.
I'll
dude?
tell you
Like,
now.
I wonder why that is, dude.
No,
Like, I ask myself
We
that question so
love
much.
complaining because
Dude.
we were raised in comfort, my dude. We
No,
were like cats,
dude,
you know.
I think
We
it's
were
even
raised
what
in comfort.
I think it's way more basic than that. I just think that we're so accustomed to getting dopamine so easily that when we need
Mm.
to actually work to receive it, we're
Work
like,
for
fuck
it.
that. Like,
You're
if you,
perfectly right, dude. Like imagine how much dopamine we have access to just having the internet and our cell phones. Normal people, like let's talk about the boomers again. Their dopamine source was literally their job and taking care of their children. So like that was where they would find that dopamine. Now we grew up as a generation where dopamine is like readily available all of the
everywhere.
time.
And everywhere. Like, you look right and
Everywhere.
left and you see colorful things. You sit on the bus and you're like, I'm a little bored, Reddit. I'm a little bored, Instagram. Like, it doesn't take a
I'm
second.
a little bored, mushrooms.
Yeah,
I'm a
dude.
little bored.
It's so easy to get these things. So I think that's why we're so lazy.
I believe that we all throughout time have had as much dopamine as we have today. The forms just change.
Do you think so?
I know so.
You know so, okay?
So like I
So
agree
whenever
with what
we
you're
went, when we went for that trip, for instance, there was large periods of time where we didn't have cell phone signal and we didn't have electricity, right? So we was just camping out in the mountain, and the natural state of the human being is actually not anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Anxiety is what you get when you have all this stuff and you're wondering what to do, right? So you have all this stuff and the anxiety arises, what should I do? Well, if there's nothing to do, then
Yeah.
you know, looking at a bird triggers dopamine.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So, you're talking about the idea that dopamine, or our natural levels of dopamine, increase to the point where, or decrease to the point depending on how much stimulation we have around us.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling as well. Like, it's not so much that we have more access to dopamine, it's just that we have more buttons to press that dopamine.
Absolutely.
I think the difference is between an action, you know, a more meaningful action of, for example, looking up and seeing a bird and being thoughtful about it and putting in the effort to appreciate its colors and its flight and its biology and all of that, and pressing a button on your phone.
Yeah, so
You know, like that's the difference is quite distinct.
that's
And
really
I
interesting.
feel like now that you're saying that, this kind of like arises to me as well. Like the problem is where with a bird, like seeing a bird, maybe seeing a beautiful bird, it can be something kind of novel and it's like a in the moment, this is something that's special type of thing. Where with the feeds we have, it's literally this constant, oh, now there's new thing, and now there's this new thing, and now there's this new thing. And for that reason, we don't actually like stop and appreciate the one thing as we would if it was the only thing that we were appreciating at that moment.
We're getting it from multiple sources.
Yeah,
At
it's,
a lot of a smaller time scale.
yeah, it's the effort then to get that dopamine that's changed. Because like,
So
even
how do you
looking at-
feel?
Yeah,
Sorry,
go
man.
for it. No,
No, I
go
wanted
for
to ask Teddy, how do you feel like children and like having a relationship like that has affect your perception of dopamine as well?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Like the way you enjoy things. Like, for instance, if you push a button, right? Like you enjoy drinking, for example, you enjoy smoking joints. Like as soon as you have kids, like this is something I'm actively asking myself, how am I going to change? Especially how is my behavior going to change when I have a wife and kids?
I don't think it changes that much, to be honest.
It really, it can if you want it to, but it also can if you, or can't if you don't want it to. So kids will kind of, if you have kids, you're telling the experience generator that I value those forms in my life. And so those forms are going to ask for your attention. Just like if you play video games, you're telling the experience generator, hey, I like video games. And then what happens? Another video game pops up and another video game pops up. And then you get engrossed in one and you're like, man, this is pretty fun. But you can do that also with your children. Like I said, the sources are always there. The forms simply change. That's all we're doing out here is playing with form.
That's a beautiful way to see it, man.
It really is.
Thank you for giving me that puzzle piece.
It's funny you should say that, because sometimes I don't think it's that simple. From a very young age, I'd always been planning on having kids by 22, 23. I wanted to be a very young parent. It was one of my major goals. Yeah, right? Exactly. It was one of my major goals. I wanted desperately to have kids, but I also knew I wanted my kids to have an amazing mom. I wanted them to have someone magical and profound as the other parent,
As your mom.
So just as my mom was to me. And so the journey has taken me on a hell of a roller coaster, and to this day, at the age of 25, almost 26, I haven't met someone. It's not as easy as like, hey, experience engine, I want kids, and that would be so awesome if it could happen. Sometimes I feel like the things that we want most in life are the hardest to achieve, especially if you set yourself a certain level to achieve, not just like, I want to have kids. It's easy to just go and bone some fucking dumbass bitch at the club and get a bunch of little kids running around. That's easy. That's not a problem. Easy peasy. But that's not what I wanted. I wanted something really fucking awesome. I wanted some next level kids that could tackle this complex and mysterious world, that would be able to do it with a smile on their face and would have the strength to do so. And I need a partner in my life that is capable of understanding that is capable of being on that level, instead of someone that I can just biologically produce these little minions with. I wanted to produce magical beings. So to this day, I'm on the search for that strange and miraculous person.
So instantly makes me think about Teddy's word about he wasn't even looking for that, and now that is exactly what you have, and now Christian is the one that's looking for that, and it's like escaping him.
Okay, so I wasn't looking for it, but in the back of my mind, I knew that that's what I wanted, right? I was like, okay, I know that's what I want, but I'm just gonna right now must not be the time. The last chick that I got was absolutely crazy. So I'm just going to see what falls in my lap, because, sometimes, it seems anyways, right? With the ebb and flow of things, it's either rain or famine, right? There's either, it's feast or famine sometimes, especially with dating, right? So you either have, you get into a relationship and then there's 5 other chicks that want to go out with you at the same time, or you haven't boned anybody for 2 months and you're like just fiending for female companionship, right?
2 months is
and
cute.
So
I'm going on 3 years, man.
Okay, so
I think
so. Anyways,
I have everybody beat. I won't say my number, but yeah, it's a long time.
But why is that? Have you asked yourself why?
Because I don't try hard enough.
No, that's not the case.
Then I don't know.
Because you're comfy.
Probably.
That's a good point.
you're getting all of your needs met
you're
without
probably
that.
completely correct. You're probably completely correct that the discomfort is one of the most powerful drivers in this life. It's like
Wow, dude.
Absolutely.
amazing.
Thank you for
Unfortunately, like one of the things of going out and trying to find a relationship, it is almost inherently uncomfortable. Like there's no way to go and do something like that where you're like comfortable with it, because it's this like putting of yourself out into the world, and then also you have to face the risk of rejection, which is also something we don't deal well with as humans.
Yeah, but certain discomfort outweighs other discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to be
exercise.
You're going to be uncomfortable one way or another. Choose your uncomfortableness. Even whenever you find somebody, you're going to be uncomfortable with that person there for a while, and then and then you're going to be uncomfortable with not with the person, but with the circumstances around the person, and then you're going to be uncomfortable. Once you get all that settled, you're going to be uncomfortable with the world until you get that settled. There's always going to be a level of uncomfort.
The state you're speaking truth, man.
yeah.
Yeah, just like there's a certain level of dopamine that is always readily available to you, there's a certain level of discomfort that's always readily available to you. You're just choosing different forms than I am.
So then an interesting question is, how deep or should you look into that discomfort? Because I remember when you guys, or what you guys were talking about with the relationships, and you saying you didn't want one at the moment, but you knew you wanted it eventually. That's the like very simple definition of you didn't desire it, but you had the intention of having it someday. And it feels like desires the state of trying to find something, or a level of discomfort that pushes you to do something. And intention is this more of a true statement that it will happen, just without a time frame.
Now, I call that immature and mature hope, actually, where immature hope is the wanting of only one possible outcome, where mature hope is the wanting of, good possible outcome. It's a little bit more open-ended in your intention towards it.
Well, would you feel fulfilled if you were a certain age and you didn't have, let's go with 30, right? So if by 30 you didn't have a family, would you blow your own brains out?
No.
Probably.
I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, so the guy that said probably will have a family before he's 30.
Yeah, actually, that's such a good point, dude.
Wow.
Christian, dude, like I'm coming through soon, man. We're gonna go and fucking wingman, dude. I need to keep you alive, bro. I still want you in my life.
Yo,
That's 30, oh.
You've got 3 years, bro.
Fine, I swear.
Fuck, dude, you're gonna see me grafting, dude.
4 years.
I'm gonna just be like dragging chicks through the club towards you. It's like you have no idea. I have to save a friend.
Yeah, if you're willing to do that, it'll happen.
Life. Now, look, I'm a very, very dramatic person. So
You're really...
when I say stuff like that, in all honesty, I'm pretty sure I would still be completely fine, even if I didn't have children by the age of 30. Yes.
I want you to know that if you die before we go on the desert trip, I will never forgive you.
Dude. There you go, Christian.
Never.
Fucking ultimatum.
Not in like, never. As a soulful being, never.
I'll find you in the soul and kick your ass, dude. Diddy, so you're in the loop, like Christian, like I think we were tripping, or we were like smoking joints or something.
You guys were tripping.
Yeah, we were tripping. So, and then Christian is like, one day all of us are gonna hike through the Sahara Desert. And we kind of like, we kind of laugh about it. We're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do that, someday. And over the years, it's become just like, this is gonna happen.
It is.
We don't know when it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen.
No.
It was a dream of mine, a very funny sort of epiphany that I had, where it's like my entire life, I've never actually sat in a space in nature or even non-nature that is completely, utterly silent, devoid of noise. So I thought to myself, where the fuck on this planet can you go to where it is actually quiet? And I mean completely quiet. And the first thought that popped into my mind was like the desert. And I'm like, shit, motherfucker. I want to sit in the middle of a fucking dune in the desert.
In the middle
where
of the
I see
Sahara.
nothing. Where I see literally nothing but sand and sky and stars. I hear nothing, not even the wind. And I want to be on that dune, and I want to drop whatever dose of whatever the hell it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just want to experience the moment, because it will probably be the only one in my life where I hear fucking nothing, except probably for Estian being loud and gibberish in the background.
Like, I was so happy you said it, because I was like, and then there's me. And just like interrupting your fucking quiet, and you being like, Estian, I swear, dude, I'll fucking leave you in this desert.
Yeah.
I'll bury you in a sand dune somewhere.
I'm bringing a revolver, bro. You think I'm joking? I'll shoot you in the leg.
Yes, okay. And then you're gonna carry me, man.
Back onto the topic of being okay with not having children by the age of 30. Yes, this is a desperate dream of mine. It is something that I so badly want and almost need in my life. But I've also come to the realization that there is not a fucking chance that I'm ever going to lower my standards for the person that I want in my life. I've had a person that I was completely content with and happy to marry. And you know what? They weren't spectacular. They weren't fucking 10 out of 10 smartest person on earth or most exciting or kind and loving or anything like that. They were human. So I know it's achievable. I know my heart is completely content with normality if it is the thing I'm looking for. So I will not settle. Not for a fuck am I ever going to lower my standards. I know my standards are not ludicrous. And if it should not come to be that I should meet a person that I can have kids with by the age of 30, then fuck me. Then the planet is wrong, not me.
Everybody else is wrong.
Reality that is fucking up here on this side, not me. And it's completely okay to say that. I feel like we can say that as human beings, especially when your intentions are bloody pure and they are fully on the spectrum of light and goodness and kindness. I have had so many people in my life tell me, you are on the right track. You are doing fine. You're doing the right thing. You are a good person. You will meet someone good one day. So I'm sorry if it should not happen. It wasn't because of me. It was the bloody world being unfair, and guess maybe I ran out of luck.
So, like, I want to actually bring it back to what Teddy said about we're here to experience different forms of that. And if you, like, at least in my way of seeing things, you know, the self is the same for technically all of us, you know, underlying our body, our personality, our ego. That self is constant within all of us. And on that level, technically there are other beings who got to experience the forms of kids, of a wife and like a wife, and like, at least, and this is the way I kind of give myself a little bit of leeway, is to understand that I don't need that, because that is an experience that is readily available within this universe, if that makes any sense.
Doesn't need to be you that experiences it.
Exactly.
So when I was a child, I didn't have a father. So I told myself that I would be a good father whenever I grew up. And so being a father was never going to be optional for me.
It was something that you were like, I'm going to be a good father one day. So it was like this, like, it's really crazy that you say that as well, because I kind of have that exact same feeling looking at my dad. Like, I feel like I have this almost responsibility to do better than he did. Like, my dad was he is an amazing man, but he's still, as we know, human, and he did make mistakes, and there is things that, you know, still bother me to this day. But in that way, it kind of pushes you to be better. It kind of pushes you to bring into life this experience of having a good father, if you will.
Certainly.
But I feel like that's quite subjective to your kid. Because
that's also true.
You can be as completely I don't know what would be the right word, intentional in what you want to be as a father, but it's the personality of the kid that's gonna dictate what type of father you are. And then I feel like it is more important that you as a father need to be able to adapt to your kid's personality to teach him the same things that you would have wanted to teach him, but not in your way.
It's a trippy that you say that as well, because like Teddy, has 4 little girls, dude. And these little girls are like absolute little superstars.
Awesome.
The way that Candace and him is like raising them is kind of with this intention of making them realize just how much love is an important factor of this life, and how non-attachment is also something that's very important. Like it's something I genuinely admire about their parenting style.
So, Teddy, the Slavic people believe that it's only the strongest of men that have daughters. And you're clearly exhibiting that asset. So, I want to ask you, what is it like to bloody have 4 little girls running, 5 girls actually in the house with you, and you being the only man?
Well, that's pretty interesting that it's that I didn't know that about Slavic tradition, but I appreciate that. Because I have often asked myself why exactly I haven't had a son, yet.
Is it something you long for?
Yeah, of course, I'm going to have a son one day.
Of course.
Yeah, it's going to happen. If it takes 13 girls before it's a son, it'll happen. But
like that's actually how we are 4 kids as well. Like my mom wanted me, a boy and a daughter, and then boy again, and then finally they did get their daughter. So I believe the exact same will come to you, man.
I appreciate that.
But like on the question, sorry, you can continue. Like I'm curious about this only man in a household full of girls.
Yeah, it's pretty challenging sometimes, if I'm being completely honest with you. But it's a lot of fun too. I love my girls, and I just have to play with them a little different than I would play with a son, and I'm aware of that, because I don't want to raise my girls to be boys. I want my girls to be girls.
No. I also feel like
so we're not.
It can be pretty beneficial to be in a household that is majority another gender, because while being the gender you are, you kind of instinctively know things, and then to witness what the other gender thinks about it and how they grow up to actually understand it, I think must be quite interesting as well. Like, even though you have to play with them differently, I think it must be quite a unique experience from your side.
I'd also like to mention it from this different point of view, is I know how deeply ingrained the instinct is to have a boy, especially as a father. Someone has to carry on the lineage, the family name, the blood, the lessons, in general, the spirit even. I'm very much pressured from my side of the family. I'm the last Vitrichenko male heir in the world, basically. So my father highly pressures me to have a boy, to have a son. And I've tried to fight against that stigma, because even if I were to have 4 little girls or 5 little girls or 17 little girls, each one I feel would be this universe of human calamity.
That's a great way of describing your kids, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna be Chris's kids, so
dude, calamity, bro.
That I feel like with your little daughters, with your 4 little girls, I know that you play with them differently and you want to raise them as little girls, but I think it might surprise you just how much of a son, for lack of a better way of explaining this, how much of a son some of your little girls can be to you, if that makes sense. Like,
no, that makes sense. But if I get comfy in that way, then that's the way the experience generator will continue. So I'm going to hold out for that sun experience for my actual sun.
That's interesting. It's fascinating that how you think that way.
So this is the way I feel about it, is you're very much aligned with the realization that we have power over the way we experience. And if you shift what you feel is what you want to experience, then the experience is going to shift with it.
Absolutely.
Do you think you're forcefully stopping yourself sometimes from acknowledging that comfort, or forcefully discomforting yourself in a place where you could be comfortable?
Yeah, 1000%. And that's fine. Why not?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Why not be uncomfortable in that manner? You know what I'm saying? You're going to be uncomfortable somehow. Why not be uncomfortable that way?
So now, like this, I feel this is a perfect way to transition to like the question. Basically, the question we ended the last stream off of is, poly relationships or open relationships, and how that can be seen as another level of potential discomfort. Would you be willing to share more about that?
A lion left out in the wild only takes so much pasture for himself, but a caged up lion constantly seek freedom.
What a
I agree.
Good one-liner, yeah.
I 100% agree. Do you feel caged up sometimes?
No, I don't. Well, if I do, it's because it's something on myself. It's not because of the situation. I'm not caged by my situation. I'm more caged by internal feelings. So like I said, a lion out in the wild will only take so much pasture for himself. Why? Because something within him stops him from taking over the whole daggum jungle, right? It's not because the jungle isn't takeable, right? There's probably the next patch of land over that doesn't have any lion marking its territory there, and that's perfectly fine. That jungle can be over there, and the lion will still just take as much pasture as required to be happy. So,
do you think you've taken enough pasture for yourself?
Well, I'm surrounded by beautiful women all day, every day, basically. So, what else could I?
Sounds like a lion's dream.
Yeah, yeah. So, so I have my needs met, I guess. Even though, if I was out somewhere, I know that it'd be all right to.
So besides finding a son, sorry, not finding. Besides having a son. Besides having a son, what other dreams are you aspiring towards? What do you want to achieve?
Well, I think that having this area that I live in as its own independent state would be pretty fun.
That is so cool. What?
Am I missing something?
Yeah, can I ask, how would you go about doing something like you want to turn the property you own into like a quote-unquote independent nation or state of another country?
No, this area, the Ozarks, it's a region, right? And it spans the lower half of Missouri and the upper half of Arkansas and a little bit of Kansas and Oklahoma. These arbitrary boundaries that we find ourselves in, I don't think are healthy. And so those are going to go away pretty soon.
I think so as well, actually, dude. Like, it's the whole world at the moment, dude. Like, this nationality thing that we have.
Exactly. I'd like to expand that. So I hope to be alive to see the idea of states and regions and governments and countries and continents. I'd like to see it abolished, and I'd like to see humankind become a single people. I really, really hate this stupid thing of passports or the fact that there's such a thing as like the European Union and how much privilege the fucking European Union has in terms of travel. It's
dude, like
bizarre.
we South Africans literally have to wait months to get a visa, and then when we do get this visa, if we're approved for the visa, we can only stay in a country for like 6 months at max. Dude, and then we have to come back to South Africa, and then the Europeans are just like, oh wait, guess I'm getting on a plane and going to another country, and that's literally all they have to do.
And I'm just gonna live there and like get stuff.
Dude, my one friend has a German and Swiss passport. He can go to 201 out of the 214 countries without a visa. Like, and it's, yeah, dude. I feel like, though, humanity would have to step up its game quite a lot if we want to remove governments and that.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of work that needs doing. But I know that, I mean, for fuck's sake, we are so interconnected now.
Yeah.
And I maybe I went a bit too far in terms of abolishing governments. But for travel, at least, you know?
I'm gonna...
For fucking travel, for the ability to go from one place to the other. If you want to live in Uganda, for fuck's sake, why not? If you want to go and live in the Netherlands, and I suppose that has to be controlled. Sure, that's why the systems exist. Because right now, everybody in the world would probably move to the Netherlands if they could. Or
see, I actually disagree that doesn't have to be controlled. See, a lion in his natural environs only takes so much territory for himself. So what happens whenever you take away all the artificial controls? We start controlling ourselves. We'll find a feeling on the inside that tells us, oh, this is where I need to be right now.
See, but right? I worry, and this is where I feel like I have to say that's kind of how we end up with Genghis Khans and Hitler's and that. And yeah, there's the borders and people wanting more for it, but there will always be that one motherfucker that's like, yeah, but I want...
Unsatisfied.
Yeah, I want that as well. I have my thing, but I want that lion's place as well.
I heard this crazy one-liner that goes, we don't have a problem feeding the poor. We have a problem satiating the rich. And that was like, yes.
Well, that's only for right now.
Fortunately, I would actually go back to what Christian said. I'm kind of pro abolishing government, dude. Like, I believe the thing the government does is technically provide services. Those services, almost 80% of the time, are outsourced, and then like these people that provide these services basically put in tenders. These tenders get approved by the government, and then they go and do the job. We can completely take out the government as a middleman, create an online system where you have access with your phone to it, and you can pick which services, which people do your services in your communities. We don't need the government anymore, dude. We haven't for a long time. And you can literally see them clawing at the power they have left.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. Yeah, we're witnessing the end of government because we don't need it. It's just like, everything else, all the forms that we play with in our daily lives.
More modular.
Like, what do we need versus what we don't need, and what's holding us back versus what's not holding us back. And government's definitely something that's holding humanity back from being able to just naturally take that little territory for themselves, and then that's... But that's see, okay.
This is an inevitable process. We are highly intelligent beings, and what we are seeing is a time scale, both in the past and in the future, And sometimes we struggle to remain in the now. You know, we see the ideal outcome, and we ask ourselves the question, why aren't we there yet? Why aren't we there yet? Why we can so easily be there? We just have to do this thing. But what is happening right now is we are literally 7 billion fucking bodies on this planet. And of course, it's going to take a ridiculous amount of time to transition into the next evolutionary idea. We can see the big dream. We can see it ahead of us. We know the direction that we want to be taking. But to put in the effort, it's like exercise. This is the best analogy I can put forward, is if you want to look like Captain America, you can see the idea, you can see the body, you can see it's achievable. Now we're just in the exercise phase. We're in the dieting phase. We are putting in the effort, putting in the time. We're trying and we're fighting and we're clawing and we're suffering and we're slowly, very, very slowly, but we are progressing there, you know? And I think we need to give humanity that credit.
Sorry to cut you off, but you remember the question that I asked your if you were 30 and you didn't have a family, would you blow your own brains out? And there was one person that said probably. And that person's going to have a family.
Yeah.
Now, are you willing to lay down your life for the idea of no government? Because there are a lot of people that are willing to lay down their lives for the government. And until that threshold of people that are willing to lay down their lives to abolish government reaches that critical mass point that is above the number of people, which, you know, I say there's a lot of people out there, but really, whenever you start pointing guns in people's faces, that number will pretty well diminish, right? So like right now, the government is doing what it does because it's comfy, right? It's comfy. They don't have any pushback. But once there's a critical mass of the people that are giving them pushback, it will fall.
Yes.
Like, you're mentioning something that has actually been making me worry a lot, dude, is this understanding that maybe, sorry, dude, I just want to say this, like maybe we'll have to go about, you know, abolishing the government in a non-peaceful way, dude. And I don't want that to be the case, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's any other options.
No, we don't have to. I don't think so. I don't think so, because I have faith that we as a species are slowly progressing towards a higher form of empathy, of sensitivity, of kindness, of love. We are steadily becoming softer, and maybe that can be seen as such a pussy thing, you know? Oh my God, you fucking snowflakes and all of that other fucking shit. But I think we are heading in a fucking good direction. We're becoming so much more caring of the environment, so much more caring of our fellow man, that I don't think that we will need to take down the government with guns and with bombs and with violence and with death. It will just...
What are you going to take them down with?
No, we won't have to, because the government will transition through the generations that go into government. The more empathetic generations that come after. Sure, it's not going to happen tomorrow. Sure, it might not happen in a century, but we're headed steadily in that direction. Yes, I might not have children by the time I'm 30, but who's to say that I won't have them when I'm 50 or 60 or maybe even 70?
Here's the problem with that theory, is that there are people in control who are having children too. And those children are being told that it's your job to carry on the legacy of controlling these people. And we're having kids, and our kids can know.
And the thing I also want to say actually is that people are getting like sick. People are no longer wanting to wait, dude. Like that's what's, at least that's what I'm seeing.
Exactly.
Like people are getting fed up, dude, and that is it's
critical
going
mass
to,
point.
Yeah, that critical mass.
That's what I'm saying.
It intimidates me and it scares me, especially, you know, wanting to be completely aligned with love, compassion, empathy. But when there are literally like a handful of people, that's the thing as well. It's not like the government is this 1 billion people strong kind of society. It's literally in the less than hundreds of thousands of people that is ruining life experience for billions.
Yeah, and then you put a gun in those hundreds of thousands of people's face and see how few of those people are actually willing to stand up to their fellow man. And that number then dwindles by quite a few. And then, you know, it really just, enough people need to start putting guns back in their faces for the change to happen, because that's the only language they understand.
See, I always wonder if the thing is though, I think you can take that quite metaphorically, because yes, there is the actual impending of a gun, but it could also imply the idea of using the systems we have to break them.
Exactly.
Cancer given fuel will spread. Okay, so that's the trap that they have people in, that you can change it from the inside out. No, you go into a cancer cell, guess what? You become cancer. There is no way except to physically remove the cancer.
Yes. So that's an idea I thought about. So I constantly battled with the problem of how am I going to change things for the better? How am I going to make my community better? And I thought, cool, we're going to go into politics and we're going to change the system from the inside. And then I thought to myself, yeah, no matter how strong-willed and how powerful you are, you're going to be surrounded by cancerous cells, and they will have an effect on you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that'll become your world.
But not just that.
It's called corruption for a reason.
Yeah, but you'd have to change to fit the system, to play the system.
Absolutely.
I see the paradox.
Yep. That's the trap. So you try to change the system from the inside will change you. You cannot survive on the inside without changing your character to fit that mold. Otherwise, it will reject you.
And now I wanna bid you the question. Do you think that if governments were abolished with the access of information we have now, we could get to an understanding where things like theft wouldn't be a thing?
Well, do you steal your neighbor's car because it's against the law, or do you not steal your neighbor's car because you feel that would be unjust?
I believe the way to solve that is just to have universal basic income. Like, we have the funds to do that. If you can give people enough money to survive, right? Like, is that literally too much to ask? Just give people enough money to live on planet Earth. Then having that base level, you can start to create, you can start to maybe like start your own business, maybe do something with your family, for your family that you would actually enjoy, might not pay as much, but at least you know you can continue living. As soon as this, dystopian, like we already live in the dystopian future. That's the trippy part people don't realize. there's these actual hundreds of billionaires, and then there are at the same time people starving without food, people dying without clean water.
Dude, that thing I sent you.
I don't know.
Well, there's the idea.
The fucking rich.
Dude,
there's the idea.
Do you know how much money I have, Christian? I have 600 rand, oh. You're fucking call me rich, oh. I have $60 in my bank, dude. I live with my parents.
Did I say you were rich?
Didn't you say I was rich?
No,
I thought you just said you're the rich.
He said
eat the rich. Sorry, I thought you said you're the rich. I mean, in that way we do have, a lot more access to resources than a lot of people who are suffering do. And in that way we are still metaphorically the rich, but there's a difference between having the thought that, for instance, Apple right now is sitting on $250 billion of cash.
Liquid cash.
Of liquid cash.
No, Estienne, they're sitting on $250 billion of a digital number in a digital system.
Yes,
that doesn't change lives,
that
dude.
It actually has veritable impact on our reality. Like, yes, we've created...
I challenge you to go out into the woods for 14 days with no food and
No.
see how God just provides it for you.
Fair.
Nobody is starving because of X, Y, and Z. There is no such thing as starvation. People come into this body and they go out of this body. The experiences that you are having, right, are completely, that they're what you expect to have, right? So if you expect to not have any food given to you, if you go out into the wild, that will be the case until you're at that critical mass point of where if I don't have food, I will die, right?
Hunger
and
is
then,
the best motivator.
boom, out of nowhere, food will happen. Why? The teachers that we have for enlightenment all met that same critical mass point, and nobody even pays attention to this part of the story, right?
Like, it's crazy to me that you say that, because at least in the way that I'm perceiving the information, like just one thing, I'm thinking about addiction and how people
on the inside went up to a mountain and fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. He went without food for 40 days and 40 nights. God probably handed him food during that period of time, and he rejected it, right?
Well, what happened in those story 40... goes, he could have made it for himself, but he chose not to.
Can you hear us down? Okay, cool.
Yeah, 1,000% he could have made it, but that's not the point, right? The point is that he went 40 days and 40 nights without food.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? What did he realize after 40 days and 40 nights?
That you were provided
Buddha.
For. None of this is real.
It's not
illusion.
that.
Do what you want. Anarchy and chaos.
Buddha starved himself for even longer than 40 days and 40 nights. And then one day he was traveling through, he was going across a river, and he felt to himself, all right, this is it. I'm down to skin and bones, literally. And I'm traveling through this current. I'm just going to let the current take me. And then at that moment, something inside of him triggered, and he went to the tree. He ended up getting through the river, going to the tree on the other side, and he was like, all right, here I am. What happened? What triggered? On the other side of that, when he was under the tree, what did he realize? The same thing that Jesus realized. You're not allowed to die. There's nothing you can do here that will allow you to die. And then as soon as that sunk in, they got their powers. Because why would they not get their powers at that point? Right? Because they already know where it is that they are, and they know who it is that they are, and they know they're not allowed to die. So anytime that you are at that point to where it's either I go or they go, they will go.
So do you think that implies not that death isn't a possibility, but that it only happens when either you are ready for it or if it's given?
I'm thinking about what Christian used to say is like, death isn't something we have earned yet. It's like something that is already almost, it's set. Like when you die, it's going to happen. And realizing your impermanence in that way, you kind of give yourself all of the freedom in the now.
So what I said was death is a gift that we have not earned yet.
No, that's the one. Sorry.
And the reason I say that is because one way or another, you are trapped in this human body. As much freedom as we do get, you are still immortal, and with that comes a lot of different things. And the way I see,
that's what I'm trying to get to you. If you are listening to my voice, you're not mortal. If you're having an experience right now, you are not mortal. This body will come and go, but you are not mortal.
Yeah, I agree completely with that, dude. Like this is what we've been talking about for so long, dude. The recognition that we are literal individualized expressions of God, dude. And that godness is undieable, dude. It's infinite. And we are that infinitude.
Have you ever had an out-of-body experience?
Yes.
Oh, plenty.
Absolutely, yes.
If you have, then why are you still identifying with this body?
Can I tell
and
you
saying
why?
things
So convincing, dude.
We are mortal. No, we're not mortal. Use this body as you will.
No. I
don't need my body to even have the same memory complex.
Stop pulling my spirit out of my body. Okay, I came here to experience this reality as a mortal. I have come here to forget that I am an immortal being, and I am completely satisfied with the idea that I might end for all of eternity, because that is what I've come here to do. I've come here to feel that again, to forget that I am immortal, to forget that I am this constantly flowing cosmic energy. I've come to experience what it is like to feel like I'm going to end. That's I came to inhabit this body.
If you've pulled me into your experience, then it's time to wake up.
Oh dear.
It's that natural time. You go, if you put, if you have a, let's go with a jar of pebbles, right? And you put a pearl in with these pebbles and you shake it enough, eventually that pearl is going to find its way to where it's not going to shake anymore. That's where we're at, right? The pearl has found itself where it's supposed to be, and now it's time to wake up.
I don't wanna. I wanna stay sleeping. I like sleeping.
Can I ask you, and I hope this is not an offensive question, have you ever tried DMT?
Yes.
Okay, I understand. Don't need to say more.
All of us have schmonked DMT, dude. I think, I would go as far as to say that every single human being on planet Earth needs to experience that, dude. Because as soon as you do, so many of the bullshit you hold on to as a in quotations human just kind of melts away, dude. It just disappears.
You know what has hit me the hardest? And you asked, why haven't you woken up? Because I'm scared. I will truly say that. Because holy fuck, it's infinite.
Holy motherfuck.
It's infinite.
Holy motherfuck.
That
I'm not ready to hatch. I'm not ready to hatch from my egg yet. Okay.
No, it's
like cozy and comfortable in my little embryo, surrounded by a very hard shell.
I do my peeking. I do my just of understanding, and then I will slowly do it. But it is terrifying. It is a terrifying realization, but we'll also say
Teddy,
it's
Teddy,
glory.
I'd like to ask you, Teddy, how old are you?
33.
Ooh, 33. Of course.
Okay.
There you have it. My awakening coincides exactly with Jesus's.
I was about to say, dude, the number 333 is
atheist.
Same.
Until I was 30 years of age, and then Jesus started his ministry. Boom. And then there is a period of time during his ministry, and then the ascension point at the end of the ministry, right? And
you have become
the ascension point was at 33, and here I am at 33, and I'm, just like the story said, it's pretty much ascension time for me.
So I have a question actually for you, Teddy. And this is something I've been almost, I feel like, curating in my mind, where I think that the reason we're here, I completely understand, the divinity underlying our natures, but I also believe in some way that there is this consciousness almost being pushed into this physical realm. And us as human beings, we're technically right at the forefront of that consciousness, at least in the complexity of that consciousness. And being aware of that and being able to literally, actively, consciously evolve is something that you're doing literally for the whole of consciousness. And I feel in a lot of ways that is one of the reasons we are here right now, is to experience levels of consciousness, share a consciousness, and, expand that consciousness so that we can give this experience back to, our source.
It's a funny thing that I see very commonly in human beings is that it seems like all of us are trying to spiritually save one another. It's the Christians trying to save the Muslims trying to save the Christians, the Buddhists trying to save the Muslims and the Christians, the Hindus doing the other round, the Aztecs, the old Greek gods, the Norse and all of that. And all of us are running around being like, yo, dude, I promise you, come this way, you're going to be fine. And it's the little innocent baby that's born with a clean conscience and no idea or opinion, looking between everyone, screaming its lungs out, going, I don't know what to do, jeez, fuck.
Yeah, the baby and you are fundamentally the same individual.
Yep.
You're just playing with different toys.
Different forms again.
The forms have changed, but the underlying reality is still there. You have adversities, you have discomforts, you have comforts. Same as whenever you was a kid. The kids, if you want to call it dopamine centers, right, are triggered pretty much the same amount as yours are in different, they just get it from different forms. And all you got to do is go without the forms that you have for a certain amount of time for you to realize that. Just be uncomfortable for a little bit until that natural comfort comes back to you.
Okay, so now I have a question.
You're simply not allowed to die. The baby doesn't ask for food. The food is brought to it.
It's again aligned with DMT, and experiencing DMT kind of allows you to see almost into what I would consider different realms of consciousness, and there are very much beings within those realms of consciousness as well. And what I'm curious about is that even though, as you're saying, we're not allowed to die, do you believe that we're going to be experiencing more complex levels of consciousness and also less complex than, being the singularity?
We are undergoing a transition to less complex.
You think less complex?
Yeah, the Mandela has been complete, and now the sands are being wiped away so that we can build a new Mandela.
Okay, so let me ask it in this way, rather. If you die now,
if you really want to transition to
a more
where
complex
you're,
race.
Yeah, then just go and blow your own brains out.
Yeah, but that's the thing I'm wondering about, dude. It's not that I'm waiting or I'm in a want of this more complex consciousness, but it's this underlying knowing that I am that, and that I'm almost longing to experience that complexity again. And the reason I brought up DMT and all of the psychedelics, acid and mushrooms, all of these things almost put us in tune with that complexity of consciousness. And it's something that is very much, it's not something you can do actively and constantly, and yet it feels so right in that moment. And that is the thing that kind of confuses me.
I'd like to believe they put you in tune with your own consciousness. I wouldn't call it the overarching commonality.
But you can agree that it makes it more complex, dude.
No,
the way you think and the things you think and the way you experience your consciousness is just a little bit more, dude. There's things happening to your vision, to your audio.
You wouldn't have looked for the substances, and you wouldn't have ingested them unless you were seeking that stuff, and so it was given to you.
So I have a question.
If you've pulled me into your experience, it's time to wake up.
It's time to wake up.
My brain hurts. Thank you so much.
It's just time. It's just time.
This is time.
And you've been cared for all the way up until this point, and you'll be cared for after you wake up. So there's nothing to fear, right? You're not allowed to die. This is what it is. We ain't going anywhere. We're stuck with each other. Now it's time.
I really love the sentence of "you are not allowed to die." I really, really love that. And I think that is what we should be striving, or not striving, but living by as a bedrock in our lives. I think everybody needs to have that in their lives, because sometimes we get so disillusioned, so disconnected, that the idea of death becomes, almost normal.
Unbearable.
No, not unbearable.
That death thing is the root of all of your fear, right? Why are you afraid of what it is that you're afraid of? Because if you chase that fear all the way, no matter what it is, right? So your wife's going to leave you. Why are you afraid that your wife's going to leave you? Because then
I'll be alone.
I'll be alone, and then life won't have any meaning anymore, and I'll probably just blow my own brains out. So, right? So if you follow whatever it is that you're afraid of, it always comes death.
Back to blowing your own brains out.
So this is saying, dude, and I think you would like it as well, Teddy, fear is the faith in evil. So if you're fearful of something, you're literally constantly holding it in your heart as a faithful thing that might happen to you. So how can you expect anything less?
That's brilliant.
Well, your mind,
I really like that.
Your mind conditions itself to where it would be okay if X, Y, and Z, right? So then you play with your mind on a certain idea until that idea becomes okay to live. And there's certain ideas that are not okay to live. And if you really search within yourself, you'll find that there's a certain place that you're supposed to go to, and you cannot die until you're there. Your physical vessel will take you to this place.
When the time is
right. Until you're there, the physical vessel is protected by God Almighty Himself, who is yourself. And then once you arrive there to that place, then you're given the option to transition back to memory or to stay here in
an experience all over again.
Oh, no. If eventually that's natural, right? But I'm talking about at the giving of the gift, right? The ascension. What happened after Jesus ascended back to the Father? He came back as a gardener. right? And people
I
don't
don't know that version of the story.
I
No,
don't
no,
think
no,
he
no.
means
I haven't heard that
actual
one.
God.
I mean, there's a gardeners on this planet. So he's been coming back as
No, it's-
gardeners, as engineers, as doctors, as Teddys, as Johans, as Christians.
No, I'm talking about if you go back to your Bible, right, and read after the death, and they recognize that Jesus came back as the disciples recognize that that Jesus came back in the form of a gardener, right? So he had the option at the ascension point to come back or to stay in memory, but he loves the world so much that he gave himself to it. So at the ascension point, he then comes back and walks among us, even though they didn't know it at the time, right?
I just got this image of the spirit that is fully capable of transitioning to other realities and leaving the space, but it is so in love with Earth and humanity that it chooses again and again and again and again to keep coming back here, which is what made him Jesus. That is fucking profound. Oh my word. Okay.
I mean,
We
like
need to end
Christ
this
consciousness. Like let's end it on this. Christ consciousness is basically the understanding that fundamentally consciousness arrived from all of creation, and in the way that consciousness is Christ consciousness, and there is no other consciousness than that, and that is the consciousness we are all experiencing.
The arrival to Christ consciousness, and before you're just Jesus of Nazareth, right? That the Christ consciousness is something that you grow into, right? It's something that's already there, but it's also something that you grow into, and it'll happen when it's time. You can try and force it. But all you're doing is causing discomfort where there otherwise might not be. And whenever it happens, it'll happen. There's nothing you can do about it, but it's time now.
All we get to be is here.
And there you have it.
And friends, thank you for being here with us. You are so
joining
loved.
us, Teddy, and giving us some insight and some wisdoms. Really appreciate your company.
Yeah.
No, man, your conversations have been really insightful, dude. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast today.
I appreciate that. And remember, if you want to create your own reality, be uncomfortable with what you have to the point to where if it continues like this, you got to go.
Brilliant.
And then the generator that you're in will generate different forms. And there you have it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Teddy. Like, do send Candace my regards as well, and all of the little girls. Just
all of
so much
our
love to all of you.
Look after the young ones and stay safe, stay strong, stay awesome, stay loved.
Love all of you, friends. Cheers.
All of our listeners, love and light. Bye, guys. See you next week.
Bye-bye.